Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's online class. My name is Christina Roki, and I am the Health Education's Webinar Coordinator. Today's webinar is Change Your Plate for the Better. Today's health educator is Vanessa Alardo. Vanessa is a registered dietitian who graduated from Loma Linda University with her master's in public health. She currently works as a corporate health and wellness educator and a registered dietitian for Beaver Medical Group. She has presented to many groups on a wide variety of health topics and will be presenting today's webinar. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you, Christina, and welcome everybody to today's online class. So let's just do a quick brain tease to see how much you know about what we're going to be talking about. So the first question is, there's no such thing as major food groups. All foods have the same nutritive value. Do you guys think that's true or false? So that is actually false. There are 4 major food groups that we're going to be discussing today and how they all play a part in your body and making sure that it's as nutritious and healthy as it can be. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that later. Second question is, complex carbohydrates will give me longer lasting energy. Do you guys think that's true or false? So that's actually true. Complex carbohydrates are much better than refined carbohydrates. And again, later on, we'll be talking about what different types of complex carbohydrates that there are and how you can get those onto your plate so that you can have longer lasting energy. Alrighty, so there are 4 major food groups and they're listed right here. You'll see that there's carbohydrates, vitamins that come from your vegetables and fruit, and then we have proteins and fats. So a little bit later, we're going to be talking about each one of those individually. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about that right now, but just keep that in mind that there's 4 major food groups that balance your plate. So you want to make sure that at every meal you are incorporating at least a couple of those things on your plate, and I'll let you know how many servings you should be having of each so that you know whether or not you're balancing your plate for the better. Alrighty, so let's talk about the first group. So group number 1 is your fruits and veggies. And I wanted to start with this because this should be the star of your plate. I definitely don't want to minimize this. This is, it's a great source to get your vitamins and minerals in a whole way. It's great if you want to take a multivitamin, especially if you're not eating as many fruits and vegetables, or let's say that you're on a low fiber diet, so you can't eat as many fruits and vegetables. It would be good and wise to take a multivitamin to make sure that you are getting those vitamins and minerals. But the reason that you want to get those into your system is because it helps to reduce your risk of heart disease, which is fabulous. Also helps with stroke, prevention of stroke, to decrease your blood pressure, which again will help to decrease and prevent strokes from happening. And then it also helps to decrease your risk for certain cancers, and then also is protective against cataract and macular degeneration. So it helps with your vision, it helps your skin, your hair, everything to just look healthier, for all your cells to function as they should and to be able to interact with one another properly. So vitamins and minerals are absolutely essential to our body, but unfortunately we're not getting them in the amounts that we should be getting them. So if you've ever gone to the doctor and they do your blood work and it comes back that your vitamin D is low, it's probably because you're not eating enough fruits and vegetables or getting into the sun as much as you should. So of course you don't need to lay out for about an hour to get the amount of vitamin D that you need, but you do need to walk for about 15 minutes a day, letting your arms show and maybe your legs as well to get that sun that you need to get that vitamin D that helps you to feel less fatigued, have more energy, and also helps to decrease depression. So your vitamins and minerals are just a huge asset to your body and helping to decrease depression and fatigue, and also to combat illness, as well as if you're struggling with the flu or any sort of cold. Increase those fruits and veggies and you will see that you'll heal a lot more quickly than if you're eating a lot of fats and sugars and salts and things like that. So how many fruits and vegetables should you be having per day? So take a look at both of these charts, whether you're a male or female. So if I look at it for myself, I'm moderately active. I'd like to be very active, but right now I'm moderately active, and I'm the age of 32. So if I look in that green slot right there, I should be having 2 cups of fruit per day and then 2.5 cups of vegetables. So I do actually intake that much per day. I have about an apple in the morning and then a small apple in the morning and then a small banana in the afternoon. And then for my fruits and vegetables, I just split that up between my different meals. So in the morning, sometimes I do a green smoothie, and you guys can do that as well. You throw in some spinach, some kale, and if you want to put some fruit in there to get your first serving of fruit, you can do that. In the afternoon, you can always do a small piece of fruit again, or if you'd like, you can cut up some vegetables. You can even buy them pre-cut so that they're ready to go and you don't have to worry about cutting and washing them. Put them in little baggies for the week, and then you just take them to go. So let me show you what those servings would look like. So for most people, you're going to be eating about 2 servings of fruit and then 3 servings of vegetables. And so that's what this looks like in these pictures that you see right here. They're all 1 day's worth. So in the first picture, you see that there is 1 small apple, so that's 1 serving of fruit. Then there's a cup of raisins, that's your second serving. So right there, you're already done. You don't have to worry anymore about the fruit. I have some patients that absolutely love fruit, and so they eat it all day long, which is not necessarily a healthy option. They do have a lot of sugar in them, so you do want to be mindful about your servings of fruit. Even though they have vitamins and minerals, which are fantastic for your body, you just want to make sure you're not overeating them, because they do then get stored as fat, or if you're diabetic, they'll increase your blood sugars. So then if you're looking at your vegetables, the first picture will show you a nice plate of salad. So there's lots of greens in there, and then you have a hard-boiled egg on the top to get some protein in there. But that's about 3 servings of vegetables right there in that bowl. So that's 3 cups of spinach or whatever else is in there. It might be kale or some other sort of lettuce. And then if you take a look at any of the other pictures, there's 3 servings of vegetables, which is 1 cup for 1 serving of veggies, and then 1 cup for 1 serving of fruit. So really easy to get your fruits and vegetables in. A lot of people think, oh, I got to be eating fruits and vegetables all day long to get them in. Not necessarily. You just need to have 1 serving, which is 1 cup of each of those things, and you've got 5 right there. Again, if you're not somebody who wants to munch on veggies all day long, just throw them into a smoothie in the morning and get most of your intake right there first thing in the morning. Alrighty, now let's talk about healthy carbohydrates. So what are carbohydrates? Our complex ones are going to be things that are not processed, like our refined carbohydrates. So whole grains that come from your breads, or if you want to get tortillas that are whole grain. Also fruits are complex carbohydrates. So some people who say they're going to cut out carbs completely, it's kind of hard to do that because there are carbohydrates in a lot of the foods that we eat. So there's carbohydrates in fruits, in vegetables, legumes, beans, different things that you eat like that, lentils, and then also in nuts and seeds. So all of those things fall under complex carbohydrates. And all of these have a lot of fiber in them, which is wonderful, especially if you're having issues going to the restroom and you're not as regular as you'd like to be. It's probably because you don't have as much fiber in your diet. Again, if you're on a low fiber diet, then definitely try to increase your water intake. Walk regularly. That will help you to also get your system moving so you can go to the restroom regularly. And then also you might want to think about taking a probiotic, which would be really helpful for that. But again, your complex carbohydrates are absolutely essential to getting the energy that you need to sustain you throughout the day. So making sure that you pick a whole grain in the morning will get you to lunchtime without feeling super hungry at lunch. So here is what a whole grain kernel looks like before it's processed. So if you've ever seen whole wheat bread and then white bread, the husk or the outside of the kernel has been removed so that the inside is the only thing remaining, which is the white part. So that's where all the nutritive value is on the husk, which is on the outside. You'll get fiber from that. You're going to get calcium, magnesium, potassium, selenium, manganese, zinc, iron, vitamin D. So lots of really good nutrition from the husk. So when you remove that and you decide to eat white bread or white rice or things that are not whole grain, then you're actually reducing the amount of nutrients that you're intaking. And the reason why these are so fantastic for you is because they help with obesity. They help to combat heart disease, diabetes, cancer prevention, lots of great things. So I can't stress that enough, that it is important that you try to get your whole grains in through fruits, vegetables, your beans, your nuts, and then also your whole grains, which are going to come from your breads. You can even get whole grain pasta, and you can also get your rice, brown rice, which has a lot more nutrition in it as well. So how many servings of whole grains should you be having? So about 3 to 4 per day is what's necessary for most people. If you are exercising a lot more and you're less sedentary, then you might want to increase those servings. But if you're somebody who works at a desk most days and you get up to walk maybe 15 minutes per day, you only want to be intaking about 3 to 4 servings of whole grains. So here are a couple of examples of what 1 serving would be of a whole grain. 1 cup would be of 100% whole grain breakfast cereal is 1 serving, considered 1 serving. 1 slice of whole grain bread is considered a serving. A half a cup of cooked brown rice is another serving. So if you wanted to do a slice of whole grain bread in the morning, and then let's say for lunch you wanted to have maybe a half a cup of brown cooked rice, and then in the evening you wanted to have a half a cup of cooked whole grain pasta, you'd have your 3 servings right there. If you wanted to have a little bit more, maybe make a sandwich, you could do 2 slices of whole grain bread. But as you can see, you don't really need that much whole grains, but you do need them because of the fiber and also the energy. Here are your processed refined carbohydrates that I talked about earlier, that the husk has been removed from the kernel. So this is where all of the nutrients that we discussed have been stripped. So things like refined cereals that have a lot of sugar in them, white rice, white bread, soft drinks, candy and pastries, all of those things you want to be careful with because they are refined carbohydrates that will spike your blood sugar, especially if you're diabetic. But even if you're not, you still want to be careful with that because if you eat this for a long period of time, you might run the risk of becoming diabetic later in life. So this is where you want to be careful. These have a lot of sugars in them. Now let's talk a little bit about protein. This is our 3rd food group. So protein is definitely essential for our bodies. Most of our body is made of the building blocks of protein, and they help with our muscle, cartilage, skin, blood, enzyme, hormones, a lot of things. So there's a lot of different reasons why it's important that we intake protein. If you are, going to the gym regularly and trying to build that muscle, it's important that you eat protein. But again, you don't need to over-consume it to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything like that, but a little bit goes a long way. Also, if you're in the hospital and you just recently had a surgery, or maybe even, let's say you have a cut in your finger, protein helps to repair all of that. And you repair a lot more quickly if you have sufficient protein. If you were malnourished and didn't have enough protein, you actually wouldn't heal as quickly. So that's why protein is so important for our bodies. But it is important that you choose low-fat protein options. So those are going to be things like your white meats, chicken breast, turkey breast, salmon, things like that. Not so much the red meats that could lead to other things like, risk for heart disease or cancer and things like that. So how many grams of protein should you be having? So for females, anywhere from the age of 19 to 70, you want to have about 60 or more grams of protein per day. Again, it really depends on, how much physical activity you're doing, as well as if you're going to the gym and you really want to gain a lot of muscle, you might want to take in a little bit more protein than that. But that's going to be roughly around 20 grams of protein per meal. So on the next slide, I'll show you how much protein is in 1 serving of each type of meat. And then for men in the same age range, you want to have about 90 grams of protein per day. So that's 30 grams per meal if you're having 3 meals per day. So in a 3-ounce piece of chicken breast, which is about the size of the palm of your hand, so if you want to take a look at your hand right now, it's a small amount of meat. You don't need to have that much to get 21 grams of protein. So that's a lot of protein in that little piece of chicken breast. Now, if you're having 3.5 ounces of, or 3.5-ounce can of tuna, that's about 29 grams of protein, which is a lot. So right there, you're getting a whopping 29. If you want to intake a little bit less at your next meal, you can do that and still have enough for the end of the day. And then with your ground lean turkey breast, you would get 24 grams of protein in a 3.5 ounce. So again, that would be about the size of the palm of your hand and then the height of a deck of cards. For dairy products, for a cup of milk, you'd get 8 grams of protein. For 8 ounces of yogurt, you'd get 11 grams. And then for a cup of cottage cheese, 31 grams. So you get a lot in cottage cheese. And you can always buy a low-fat option for any one of these. But be careful with your low-fat options because sometimes they'll have added sugars to, help it to taste good. So if you are vegetarian, you can still definitely get the amount of protein that you need in per day, but you have to be very mindful of getting lots of different types of vegetables in your diet, as well as, trying to get some sort of beans, lentils, even nuts have a lot of protein in them, or if you want, you can do some sort of soy protein if you're able to do that. So for a cup of kidney beans, you get about 18 grams of protein. So that's almost the same amount as a piece of chicken breast. For 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, you get 8 grams. So it's still pretty high if you want to make a sandwich out of peanut butter. And then for tofu, you get 20 grams of protein for a cup. So again, as a vegetarian or even a vegan, you can still get the protein that you need in per day if you're not eating animal proteins. Alrighty, so now let's talk about the last food group. It's fats. So fats are important. I know that's a word that nobody likes to hear. Most people try to run away from fats as fast as possible, but it is important that you get healthy fats into your body, but of course in moderation. So even though fats are important in helping with cell growth, they also help to lubricate your cells. They help to protect your organs. So if you don't have enough fat, then your organs are not protected. But again, we can have too much fat around our organs, which then makes it detrimental to our health. So you do want to be careful with how many fats you're intaking and the type and quality of fat that you're consuming. So it is important that you take in MUFAs and PUFAs. So that's monounsaturated fatty acids and then polyunsaturated, can't talk. PUFAs, we'll just say PUFAs, and then avoid the trans fats. So the trans fats are going to be things that are going to come from, let's say if you go out to eat a lot, from fried foods, and they even have trace amounts in some packaged foods. So they have to limit it by state law and government law, that they have to limit the amount of trans fats that go into your packaged foods, but there is still some trace amounts that can be found in those. So you do want to limit the amount of unhealthy cakes and pastries that you eat that are packaged, because they might have a little bit of trans fats in them. And those are the fats that are going to block your arteries. The MUFAs and PUFAs, they do not do that. They help to travel through your arteries without blocking them or creating that plaque, which then increases your blood pressure and leads to other diseases. But MUFAs and PUFAs are going to come in olive oil, canola oil, peanut oil, safflower oil, sesame oil, and avocado. So if you love to cook with olive oil, as I do, then that's a great option as opposed to using butter to saute or stir fry. You can also use the spray olive oil, which I've used before for my pans so that things don't stick, or you can also cook with the spray. If you want to use olive oil instead of canola as a mayonnaise for dips or salad dressings, you can do that to make your own at home, and they're really delicious. And then make your own, or use your own, or you can buy hummus, make hummus if you'd like, or make your own guacamole or nut-based dips instead of sour cream dips, which would be helpful in decreasing the amount of bad fats that you're eating and increasing the better fats. So here's what a balanced plate looks like. Taking all the different food groups that we talked about and making sure that you have them on your plate, and then also decreasing the amount of portions so that they're healthy for your body and your height, your age, and activity level, all that good stuff. So if you look at the bottom, if you use your hand as measurement tool, that would be really helpful in seeing how much you should use or how much you should put on your plate. So as I mentioned earlier, the star of your plate should be vegetables. So right here you see half of your plate is some lettuce, and then we also have some carrots and green beans. And then a fourth of your plate should be a healthy protein. So lean meats such as salmon, chicken breast, turkey breast. So right here we have salmon as the example, and that's about the size of the palm of your hand. And then a fourth of your plate, the other fourth, should be a healthy complex carbohydrate. So right here we have brown rice. And if you look at the bottom, a half a cup would be a little bit less than the size of the palm of your hand for one serving of a complex carbohydrate. So not very much. And that's going to give you enough energy to get you to your next meal. So this is what a great balanced meal looks like. This is a great picture to have somewhere up where you're preparing your meals at night so that you know how much you should be putting on your plate or what portions and what types of food groups you should be having on there. It's just a great reminder of how we should create our plates. Here's another example for a dinner or lunch. You have a little piece of fish, some potatoes, which is about a fourth of your plate, and then you have asparagus as your vegetable for half of your plate. And another example here is you have some zucchini for half of your plate. Then we have some mashed potatoes for your complex carbohydrate, some sweet potatoes rather, and then we have some ground lean turkey patty right there for your other fourth of your plate. So again, this is a really nice balanced plate. It's going to get all your food groups in, your protein, your complex carbs, and your fruits and your vegetables rather. And so you'll be getting all the things that your body needs. And then we have fruit up there at the top that I almost missed. You have your orange right there for your dessert. So in conclusion, it's important that you avoid dieting and trying to take out any of the major food groups because that's really not healthy for your body. And then also it's more of a crash diet where later on you're going to feel like you're deprived and then all of a sudden feel super hungry for carbs or fat or whatever it may be that you're depriving yourself of. And then don't forget to add healthy fats to your diet. So the MUFAs and PUFAs we talked about in olive oil, avocado, nuts, things like that. And then make sure to plan your meals ahead to limit overeating of less nutritious foods. So I can't stress that enough. If on a Sunday or a Saturday you want to think about what you're going to have for the week, it's going to help you so much more to be able to know how to balance your plate, what food groups you need to buy when you go to the grocery store to make your plate more balanced for the week. All right, so thanks so much for participating in this class. I hope that you guys join us for our next class, which is Solutions to Better Sleep. And then Christina will tell you a little bit more about the handouts.